Welcome. I am delighted today to have Daren Cope from Professional Properties here today. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you.
We're here today to talk about one of the most popular providers on our site, Inventory Base. Not just on our site. I mean, we're not the only one, although we are the best, he says. But no, they always do really, really well wherever it is in terms of the awards there. And I've said that's when they're the companies that get on our radar, that really seem to, they don't have to shout from the highest hilltops, but when we see the reviews coming through, we get those feedback from our dashboards. These guys seem to really deliver. So I'm really interested to understand from people like your good self, what you get out of it. And just to give it a bit of context, Daren, so you run Professional Properties. You've got a few other business interests, but we're talking about them today. And it's a really strong lettings agency in Derby, am I right in thinking?
Yeah, based in Derby, cover Derby, Burton-on-Trent, East Staffordshire, Derbyshire. Been going since 1999. So
big rent roll. I think you said you look after about over 1,000 properties. Is that right?
Yeah, it's coming on to about 1,400 now.
Yeah. Serious numbers then, yeah, serious. So what I would gauge from that, I mean, it's always great to hear from everybody, but actually, if you've got a portfolio like that, efficiencies really matter, don't they? The more you can eke out efficiencies and get the best practice tools out of there, that's going to repay you in spades because you've got so many properties to look after.
Absolutely. I mean, efficiency is key, isn't it? And staff need to be able to use the right tools to do the job in the quickest, most efficient, productive, and accurate way.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're here talking about inventory base, and that's one of the key processes of letting a property, both in terms of inventories and inspections.
So take us back to it. How long have you been using them, and what attracted you to Inventory Base in the first place?
Well, I remember back in the days of paper checklists to do inventories and signing paper and all that sort of thing. And I think they were the first real inventory providing software that we came across. And we jumped on board really early on. I remember talking to Steve really early on in the whole process. And I think, probably just skipping forward, we still use it, and I think in this day of loads of prop tech, there's tons of stuff out there, and it's probably our longest serving piece of kit that we started off as soon as we possibly could start off with it, and we're still using it. So that's probably testament in itself.
Pushes it into that category of being a partner rather than just being a supplier then as well, doesn't it, if you've been using them that long and successfully?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've not spoken to Steve for a while, but which is probably good because that means there's nothing wrong. But when we first started using it, Steve was on the helpline. Steve was taking all the calls, and so probably desperate to sort of make it work and develop it. And I mean, in our eyes, it's just gone from strength to strength. As I say, it's the best piece of software, one of the best pieces of software we've got.
And it's interesting there, isn't it? As much as obviously ultimately the tech has to stack up, has to work for you, but so often, especially in those early stages, it's a case of the people. You need to understand the people, work with the people to make that work. And Steve's one of the very best around, isn't he? Let's be honest. I know he'll blush at this, but in terms of having that understanding of being a really hardcore techie, but being able to put that into reality and understand the commercial realities at the coalface is a key part of their success.
Yeah, absolutely is, because you don't find many sort of technical minded people that can produce something like this on the business side as well. It's very unusual to have both qualities, if you like, and I know Steve's got that in droves.
Perfect. What do you think the key strengths of Inventory Base are?
From our staff, it's just user friendly. It does what it says on the tin. It's easy to use on an iPhone or iPad. It's flexible. It just produces the right reports. Landlords love the reports. Tenants love the reports for the inventories. Landlords love the reports for the inspections. And I think the biggest thing is that they've never stood still. You know, yeah, we're right. We've got an inventory piece of software that does the job, but it's always developing. You know, looking at integrations with other pieces of software to make the whole process better. And there's been a lot of changes in the lettings with fit for human habitation and all that, and they've sort of gone along with all that and adapted the software accordingly, so we don't have to effectively.
Well, that's really, really good. And what's the, you know, sometimes you go, obviously, when you pick a product, you kind of know what your, you know, what the features are that appeal to you. What's been the most surprising thing you've found from going with inventory base that you kind of found out afterwards that you maybe weren't expecting from day one?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is obviously the process of an inventory to start with. Obviously, you go out, you do the inventory, it's signed by the tenant. Obviously, photographs are massive nowadays, and the ability to put photographs within the document. But certainly one of the best thing is for us that when you go out and do the final inspection at the end of the tenancy, you update the original inventory, but then you can turn that final inspection into the ingoing inventory for the next tenant. There's no starting the report again. Everything is sort of flipped over, and it's a continual sort of document that you're developing, and that obviously improves efficiency by a mile.
So is that living document that goes on, extends and builds as you go through the process?
Yeah. In terms of the template you use and the information, you're just updating what you've already got, and making amendments as necessary, and then turning it into the starting document for the next incoming tenant, instead of having to obviously start from scratch all over again.
And I'm guessing that transparency, that clarity helps with any you know, where problems often arise is where people are unsure or assume and everything else. By laying it out in black and white, that's got to cut down on a lot of the issues, I'd imagine.
Well, it is, and as I say, the photography side of it, where, you know, photographs speak 1,000 words, it's very difficult to describe something if you haven't got a photograph, and this, you know, this piece of software does that fantastically. Which is a major plus. And again, for the periodic inspections, you know, you can use the ingoing inventory as a base to compare what that property looks like on an inspection compared to what it looked like when the tenant moved in. And it's just so flexible how we can set the templates up to basically say what we want. We can fill a lot of the information in before we actually go out, so the inspectors and inventory clerks are actually spending the right amount of time actually looking at the property rather than messing around trying to fill information out. It's just really, really good. It's really efficient.
Good. Okay. I'm sensing you're a fan, but don't prejudge this. I'll ask you this at the end. Has it, just as a matter of interest, has it actually changed your process of doing things, or did it just literally fit on top the way you did things there? What I'm trying to gauge out here is, did it help you actually evolve the process to be better for you as a business?
I think definitely. Obviously, before it came in, it was paper. You sort of did an inventory, you printed it off, you went through 60 pages of paper with the tenant at the property, and obviously, with it being digital, it just changed the whole situation. It changed the whole ball game, really. Obviously, before you either scanned it in or stored it in a filing cabinet or whatever, but now it's stored online. Obviously, you can attach it to the tenancy in whatever CRM that you use. It's just made the whole process easier for storage, access, getting it signed digitally, all that sort of thing. I mean, we're probably doing, I don't know, 40 or 50 inventories a month, so you can appreciate how much time that would take if we didn't have something like this.
I was going to ask you later, but I'll jump in now if that's okay. I mean, sometimes it's hard to, because you haven't got. But if you're doing that many, 40 or 50 a month, are there any kind of productivity gains or ROI results you can measure on that, or or even to guesstimate how much time do you think you save from being able to have a product like Inventory Base?
Oh, well, as I say, I can only compare it to when it was paper based. So you can imagine. And I'll say it again. You know, somebody in the office prepares the inventory, And then when the clerk goes out on site, they sort of fetch it. They log in and fetch it because it's been assigned to them. So they don't have to get involved in the preparation. That's sort of done by the admin team in the office. And we've tried to tinker with that process to make it as easy as possible. So least amount of time on site, but producing a full photographic inventory with as much detail as possible. It's just saved tons of time.
Yeah, I love this. I'm keeping a scorecard of how many times you're saying these nice things. Well, we jumped on that MOT we were talking about from a Kerfuffle perspective the other day, and one of the things that we kind of always talk about on those is everyone talks at the moment about digitizing your agency, lettings or sales, but actually, and I think we all understand moving from analog paperwork to digital is a thing, and it's actually getting started with that can be quite a difficult process. And certainly when you look at the business as an overview, but this is a very clear example in this key area of any lettings business of how you actually start moving down that road.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an integral part of lettings, as we know. It determines deposit releases at the end of a tenancy. What was I saying? Yeah, it's an integral part of the whole process. So it fits in with the whole process. So it's got to fit in with your CRM. It's got to fit in with the whole tenancy creation thing. And it does. And the fact that it provides such an accurate representation of the property is obviously essential when you're doing the final checkout and looking at the tenancy deposit release situation.
And one of the horrible realities of obviously the lettings side of the business is just how difficult it is to get to maintain a really positive review reflection of the business there, because as we know, tenants are they're totally unfair. They blame you for the landlord and everything else there. So you've really got to struggle to keep positive reviews out there. But the one thing that we do know on this is if you can get this part of it right, it's going to take away a lot of the ability and a lot of the grumbles that may arise out of it in that whole process, isn't it?
It is, and you know, the last thing you want at the end of a tenancy is you haven't got the right documentation to make the right choices. You know, you don't want tenants to be paying for stuff that they shouldn't need to, and you don't want landlords not getting any of the deposit back because tenants have caused damage. It's got to be a good, accurate document, and that's what it does.
Because without that, you never really know whether you're completely in the right, in the wrong, or anything else there. This gets rid of that guesswork, I guess.
It does. It does. As I say, go back to the photographs as well. Having the ability to just snap a photograph as you're going through the inventory instead of doing it all at the end and then assigning it to the various parts of the rooms or whatever. The fact you just do it and it's just, and then it produces it all in the report, all in the right order, all in the right place, easy to follow.
Right. One of the things that clearly a great proposition. Sometimes, if we're really honest, in proptech world, though, it takes a while to bed down. Is this one of those products that I'm trying to get here at what the onboarding is like? How quick and how much do they hold your hand to make sure you get working with this as quickly as possible?
I mean, really early on, it's probably so long ago now. It probably wasn't the product that it is now. But all I can remember is speaking to Steve, and the onboarding was spot on. It's like, here's the software, here's the app, download it. Website was full of help, very very easy. But I think the point is there really, as it's developed into probably the piece of software it is now, we've never had any issues. Sometimes when products develop, there's an update and you get glitches and bugs and this sort of thing, and new things come in the industry, which means they've got to adapt their software. I said right at the beginning that we've not spoke to them at all. So let's face it, when you've had a product that long, the only reason you tend to speak to them is trying to knock the fee down, or the fact that you've got issues. And every question through support, if we have an issue or just a question, is answered really quickly as well, because I know support for these various pieces of tech often gets a slating on these things, and because it's a frustrating part of using proptech, I suppose, if the support's not there, and it always has been with inventory base.
And I'm glad to be there right at the centre of this most annoying part of your existence here, Darren. That's me in the middle of proptech is a dream come true for just most businesses out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in terms of the what you're saying there then, as well, is that aftercare, it wasn't just they got you up live and then kind of fired and forget. That aftercare is just as good, obviously, not least just in terms of making the developments and enhancements that keeps this to the fore, but letting you know about that obviously as and when it's in the package and what you need to do with it.
Yeah, I mean that's important as well. When and I know I've used a lot of proptech that they do update the software, and you sort of find out when it's been updated. What's happened here. They're very proactive in terms of letting you know what's coming, when it's coming, what day it's going to be in, and how things change. So you're actually prepared for it, and your staff are prepared for it, instead of finding it one morning that it's looking different or there's something else to do. Yeah, very proactive. And
you mentioned the staff there. Are you its main fan, or do the staff love it as much as you?
Staff love it. Staff love it. I think one of the big things is that, I mean, I don't know how they use an iPhone, because that's probably my eyesight because I'm too old. But a lot of them use the phone instead of a tablet.
Yeah.
When I would think that a tablet's probably easier, but I think the software is so adaptable in terms of using it. It's good on both. Whereas sometimes you find using an iPhone for some of the technology out there, it's very rusty and very difficult.
What I think
is seamless.
Yeah, so that you've got that nice responsive element to it, haven't you? That regardless of the size of the screen, it obviously fits and makes it look, rather than what a lot of systems do, which is just scrunches down the screen onto an iPhone like that.
It's one of the biggest things to make something work on all devices without actually just keeping the perspective the same, as you say, just shrinking it. It's got to move around like a website, I suppose.
Perfect, cool. So let me think. So I mean, the first thing is it's really impressive because obviously we did go through your MOT the other day. You've got a really tight tech stack, and actually to be able for this one to stand out, amongst all of those, does say a lot for what they're doing. Just give us your final thoughts on this. How would you rate them? How would you summarize your experience with them overall?
Fantastic. I mean, I think you obviously rate your suppliers, etc., sort of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
I wouldn't often give a 10.
Wow.
But yeah. I'd give a 10 for inventory base every day of the week. It's been, and I think we've still got it. The amount of proptech that you use, and something better comes along, and you swap and you change and you do this. We've never changed, which is testament to the product. We've never needed to.
And so in Kerfuffle world, we do stars on the review. So you're saying that's a full 5 stars, is that right?
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely.
No, Sean and Steve will be very happy with that. So I'm not that this is the reason to do it, but they better send you some merch. Darren, thank you so much for taking the time out. I always say on these things, you don't have to do this. We really appreciate. I know the guys will there. It's so important in this really oblique, proptech world of ours and estate agency. There is, it's very hard to find out what There lots of companies market themselves well, but understanding which ones are really delivering for people is what we're trying to do. And so you taking your time out to help other people is great. So for me and the team, and I absolutely know the team at Inventory Base as well, will be really pleased. Thank you once again.
No problem at all. It is important that you look underneath the tin, because you go on these demos and everything looks fantastic until you start using it. But yeah, this has proved to be.
So these hard and fast Del Boy style proptech people, I don't know. I don't know where they come from.
No.
Darren, thank you very much. Cheers.
No problem at all, Simon.